Hello friends, welcome back to my channel and happy fall. Even though it is still 80 degrees outside, I am trying to get into the fall spirit. So I wanted to make a little fall book recommendation video of all of my favorite books that I think have a perfect fall or spooky vibe. And I'm also going to go through a few books that I have on my fall TBR. Okay, so the first category I have is horror, and I only have one book in this category, and that is We Have Always Lived in the Castle by Shirley Jackson. It's a classic for a reason. Shirley Jackson is the queen of literary horror. In this one, we follow two sisters and their uncle who live a very isolated life at their estate after the tragic and mysterious deaths of the rest of their family. The town has essentially shunned the sisters since they all have a pretty good idea about how these murders came to be, even if nobody was found guilty for them. And the family is left to cope with this in their own odd ways. The atmosphere in this one is very unsettling, and it's pretty obvious from the start who is responsible for these murders, and I think that's kind of the point. It really just adds to the eerie atmosphere and the confusion of what's going on, and you really get inside of these characters' heads, especially the emotionally stunted main character, Mary Catherine. There's also some really great fall imagery in this with herb gardens, mushrooms, a black cat, and a crumbling manor. I definitely want to reread this one eventually. I read it on audio the first time, which for me means that I miss a lot of what's going on and also a lot of the subtext, but I definitely got the vibe and the atmosphere through audio, which I love. But I know that there are so many interesting themes that I just scraped the surface on in this book, so I definitely want to reread and dive deeper into those. Okay, now moving into my fantasy sci-fi section. First, I have Piranesi by Susanna Clarke. This is about Piranesi, whose home is a never-ending labyrinth of halls, all lined with statues. An ocean rises and falls in the lower levels of this building, and there is seemingly no escape. He has no memory of why he's there or if he had a life outside of these walls. To him, this is just what life is, scavenging for food and resources in the ocean and trying to catalog the halls. Personally, I love a book where you just do not know what's going on, and for some reason, fall is my favorite time to read these types of books. I also love a book where the setting is its own character, and it almost feels like this mansion is haunted by the ghosts of the people who built it and the people who've lived there before Piranesi, and also whoever it is that put him there. The atmosphere is so trippy and otherworldly, but at the same time it's very grounded since Piranesi does not find his situation abnormal. He is very content with this life that he's been given. And yeah, I think this mysterious atmosphere is just perfect for fall, along with the descriptions of the mists and the rain that takes over the halls and the violent, angry ocean below. This is just one of my favorite books of all time. It's definitely up there with the best reading experience I've ever had, and I just highly recommend it, especially during the fall. The next book I have is Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson. I mean, it's literally in the title. What's more fall than an eerie mist that falls every night and conceals the murderous mist wraiths? This is the start of an epic fantasy series about a world governed by the all-powerful and immortal Lord Ruler who keeps the masses controlled with fear and poverty. We follow Kelsier, who has gathered a crew of powerful criminals with the goal of pulling off the most dangerous heist of all time, stealing from the one and only Lord Ruler. Each member of the crew has a unique ability, able to harness the powers of one of the 16 allomantic metals, with Kelsier himself being what's known as a Mistborn, someone who can harness the power of all of the allomantic metals. I've only read the first in the series so far, but I loved it so much. I definitely want to reread this at some point soon and then go on to the rest of the series because I know I'll love it. I feel like a lot of epic fantasies to me have very summery or spring vibes, but this one is one of the few that has that fall atmosphere, especially with the mists. So highly recommend reading this in the fall. Okay, next I have Gideon the Ninth by Tamsin Muir. The blurb on the front says it all. Lesbian necromancers explore a haunted Gothic palace in space. What more could you ask for? In this, the Emperor of the Nine Houses has invited all of the heirs of each house, along with their cavaliers, to vie for the chance to ascend to the next level of immortal necromancer. We follow Gideon Nav, who is forced to be the cavalier, which is basically a personal bodyguard, to her arch nemesis Harrow, the necromantic heir to the Ninth House. The trials take place in this abandoned mansion on an entirely abandoned planet. The mansion is crumbling, full of decay. It's run by a crew of skeleton servants, animated with necromantic magic, and some mysterious creature is living in the depths of this palace. The atmosphere of this reminds me a lot of Piranesi, in that we're in this creepy abandoned mansion and we don't really know why we're here or what's going on, and you don't really find out until basically the very end. Honestly, I had to reread this one about a year after I read it the first time for everything to just click in place. Once I reread it, I really gained so much more of an appreciation for this book and just the genius of Tamsin Muir. Highly recommend this book in general, but I think the necromancers, the skeletons, the creepy mansion are all just perfect for the fall. Next, I have a book that I read right when I was getting back into reading, and it's really held a special place in my heart ever since I read it that first time. And that is A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. This book has such an interesting concept. There are 4 different realms, all varying in the level of magic that they contain. And the one city that overlaps in all 4 realms is London. So we have Grey London, which has no magic. We have Red London, which has the perfect balance of magic. White London, which has been slightly corrupted by dark magic, but is still functioning. And we have Black London, which has been completely corrupted by black magic and has been sealed off to contain the corruption. We follow Kel, who is one of the only people in this world who have the ability to travel between the realms. And everything changes when he meets Delilah Bard, a girl from the magicless Grey London, who insists on being brought home with him to the magic of Red London. V.E. Schwab has been one of my favorite authors for a while now. This is just such a fun read, and it really got me so excited about reading. I always recommend this to people who want an introductory fantasy book because it's very simple in world building, but the characters are great, and it really just brought me back to elementary school and getting sucked into another world and just having that like childlike joy of believing that magic is real. And I also just think that any book that takes place in London for me feels like a fall book, but just the atmosphere and the magic just scream fall to me. So I highly recommend this one at this time of year. Okay, now I have 2 nonfiction recommendations. The first is Gathering Moss by Robin Wall Kimmerer, who is hands down my favorite nonfiction author. I've read 3 of her books and absolutely adored all of them, and they've all genuinely changed the way that I view the world and nature especially. This one is similar to Braiding Sweetgrass, so if you like that, you'll definitely love this one. It's a beautifully woven collection of essays merging science with personal reflection, but this one is all about moss, which I think is just perfect for the fall season. I have this vivid memory of going to Alaska as a kid and walking through this forest blanketed in the most lush, beautiful moss I'd ever seen, and just being so in awe of how magical and fantastical it looked. I really felt like I'd been transported to another world, and this book just brought me back to that memory and brought back some of that wonder and awe of the natural world that I had as a child. I highly recommend all of Robin Wall Kimmerer's books, of course, but this one is especially fitting for the fall. And lastly, I have Entangled Life by Merlin Sheldrake. I actually just started rereading this one and I'm really excited about it. If you like science and plants, especially mycology, and you're looking to get into more nonfiction, I really can't recommend this book enough. Similar to Kimmerer, Sheldrake perfectly blends mycology with stories from his life as a scientist, lessons about the world, and really why we should care about fungi. I would definitely say this is a lot more science heavy than Kimmerer's books, but I really love that, especially as someone who has a background in science but deeply regrets not going into ecology, because I just find it so fascinating and beautiful. And I feel like this goes without saying, but this is perfect for fall. I mean, just look at the cover. I know mushrooms have been trending, I guess, in the past few years, but if you really want to become a mushroom girly, you gotta read this book. And it's still very much sunny and warm here, unfortunately, so I'm really loving being transported to a misty forest foraging for mushrooms, because I wish I could be doing that right now. Okay, so that is all of my recommendations. Now I want to get into a few books that I have on my fall TBR for this year. I'm really trying to get through my physical TBR right now, so all of these books I have a physical copy of, mostly from local used bookstores, so I'm really excited to get into these. And I'm just going to go a little rapid fire in this section and just read the blurb on the back to give you an idea of what these books are about. First, in the, I guess, fantasy section, fantasy horror, I'm pretty sure, is The Library at Mount Char by Scott Hawkins. I first saw this recommended by Carrie Can Read as something to read if you really like Gideon and Harrow the Ninth, so I'm really excited about this one. The back says, Carolyn knows she's a little bit odd, but she figures that's only natural when she spent her life locked away in an infinite library, forced to study at the feet of the man who might be God. She's seen her share of terrible things in those years, even died a few times herself. Steve tries hard to be an ordinary guy, and he's been doing a pretty good job at it, until Carolyn shows up in his life with a tempting offer, a pair of red rubber galoshes, and exactly $327,000. Soon he finds himself swept up in a war waged on a scale he can barely comprehend, as powerful forces battle for control of the library and the future of the universe itself. So, I've heard, I think, mixed reviews on this, but I'm really excited about it. What I have heard about it is that it is weird, and I love a weird book. So, I am really looking forward to this one. Okay, now I have a few in like the horror section, and the first is The Silent Companions by Laura Purcell. This is just a classic spooky ghost gothic tale, so I'm really excited, and it's very short, so I can finish it pretty fast. The back says, when newly widowed Elsie is sent to see out her pregnancy at her late husband's crumbling country estate, what greets her is far from the life of luxury she expected when she married the young heir just weeks before. With her new servant resentful and the local villagers actively hostile, Elsie has only her husband's awkward cousin for company, or so she thinks. Inside her new home lies a locked door, beyond which is a painted wooden figure, a silent companion, that bears a striking resemblance to Elsie herself. The residents of the bridge are terrified of the figure, but Elsie tries to shrug this off as simple superstition. That is, until she notices the figure's eyes following her. Definitely spooky. I love a good gothic book, especially a little later in the fall season, like November, so I might save this till a little bit later. I don't know if I've really heard anybody talking about this book. I think I just picked it up randomly, so I'm excited to see how I feel about this one. I hope it delivers on the spooky gothic atmosphere that I'm looking for. Next is one that I'm really excited about, and that is Little Eve by Katrina Ward. I love Katrina Ward. She's slowly rising in the ranks of one of my favorite authors of all time. I've read The Last House on Needless Street, Looking Glass Sound, and recently I read Sundial. All of them I absolutely loved. They weren't perfect books by any means, but they were exactly what I wanted out of a horror, and they were the perfect amount of weird. And personally, I love a weird horror book, and she really delivers on the weirdness. This one is also written in like a gothic style. I mean, just based on the cover, I think it's going to deliver on that atmosphere. This says, on the wind-battered isle of Altnahara, off the wildest coast of Scotland, a clan prepares to bring about the end of the world and its imminent rebirth. The Adder is coming, and one of their number will inherit its powers. They all want the honor, but young Eve is willing to do anything for the distinction. A reckoning beyond Eve's imagination begins when Chief Inspector Black arrives to investigate a brutal murder, and their sacred ceremony goes terribly wrong. And soon all of the secrets of Altnahara will be uncovered. I love the sound of that. It seems like there might be some folk elements to this, which I'm really excited about. If you haven't seen my last video reading folk horror, I really enjoyed doing that. I love the slight kind of fantasy elements that brings, and it also seems like there's a murder mystery in this. I think this is going to be really good. One thing I will say about Katrina Ward is sometimes there's so much going on that it gets a little bit overwhelming, and it does seem like there's a lot going on in this book. But regardless, I'm really excited, and I think it's going to be really good. Okay, next is a book that I've been meaning to get to for so long, and that is Slewfoot by Brom. I've heard incredible things about this book. This says, set in colonial New England, Slewfoot is a tale of magic and mystery, of triumph and terror. From acclaimed author and artist Brom, an ancient spirit awakens in the dark wood. The wild folk call him father, slayer, protector. The colonists call him Slewfoot, demon, devil. To Abatha, a recently widowed outcast, alone and vulnerable in her pious village, he is the only one she can turn to for help. Together they ignite a battle between pagan and Puritan, one that threatens to destroy the entire village, leaving nothing but ashes and bloodshed in its wake. I'm so excited about this. I love witches, I love Puritan villages, and books that challenge the norm of these societies and kind of touch on those feminist ideas of freedom, using witches as a metaphor for women gaining their freedom. And yeah, again, another kind of folk horror type book that I'm really excited about. This one has really cool illustrations in it. Are you kidding? It's so cool. So I'm really excited. We'll definitely be reading this right around Halloween time, of course. Next is a literary fiction. I'm really not a big literary fiction person, but I've been meaning to get to this one for a while now, and I've heard really good things about this author, and that is Autumn by Ali Smith. I've kind of heard, like, you either get it or you don't with Ali Smith. You love her or you hate her, so we'll see which one I am. The back says, Autumn, season of mists and mellow fruitfulness. Two old friends, Daniel, a centenarian, and Elizabeth, born in 1984, look to both the future and the past as the United Kingdom stands divided by a historic, once-in-a-generation summer. Love is won, love is lost. Hope is hand in hand with hopelessness. The seasons roll around as ever. Autumn is an unforgettable story about aging and time and love and stories themselves. I'm really excited about this one. I've been wanting to challenge myself to read a literary fiction for a bit now. I just tend to get bored with them. I need a little bit of action, but I'm trying to broaden my horizons. And I'm really excited about this because I got this used, and there's a few little annotations in here, little parts where they like highlighted sections. So I'm really excited to do my own annotations in this one and kind of compare with the person who had this book before me. I think that's going to be really fun. And lastly is a short story collection, but particularly one short story in this collection, The Fall of the House of Usher by Edgar Allan Poe. I don't think I need to describe what this is about. It's a short story, so you just gotta read it for yourself. But I just know that this is gonna have the spooky gothic atmosphere that I'm looking for, and I'm really excited. I've read and watched retellings of the story in the past, but never actually read the source material, so I'm excited to get to this. I also am obsessed with this copy that I got from like the 90s. We'll see if I get to any other stories in this or some of his poems, like The Raven. Definitely fall vibes, and I'm excited about that. Okay, so that is my TBR for this season. I hope I can get to all of these, but we'll see. Let me know if you guys have any other fall book recommendations that you think I would like or other people might like. And also let me know if you've read any of these books that are on my TBR and what you thought of them and which ones maybe I should prioritize. This is my favorite time of year, especially for reading. So I hope you guys are having a good start to your fall, and I hope you read some really good books this fall. So that is all for today. I'll see you guys later. Bye!